You ready? I call this June 2nd Planning Commission meeting to order. The first order of business is to swear in Commissioner Karen Richard. Karen has been with the commission before and then City Council and is back with us, and we're excited about that.
Here's your copy. Okay, if you'll raise your right hand. I, Karen Richard, hereby accept the honor of serving as a member of the Planning Commission of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, and in so doing, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I shall faithfully perform the duties of Commissioner, that I will regularly attend meetings and uphold the ideals of community and service, that I will act and conduct business in accordance with the city's code of ethics and conduct, and that I shall support the charter and laws of the City of Alpharetta, the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia, and the Constitution and laws of the United States of America. So sworn the 2nd day of June, 2022.
So sworn the 2nd day of June, 2022.
All right, and if you'll just sign right there. All right, congratulations.
Commissioner Richards, we are glad to have you back.
Thank you very much.
You have been in public service for a long time in Planning Commission and again with Council, then back to the Planning Commission. So we are excited about having you. We have only one item to consider tonight. What was going to be a long agenda with a long night is turned into just one item. That doesn't mean the meeting is going to be short, but I will. Before I go through what has been deferred, we need to consider the minutes from the last meeting. That was May 5th, Planning Commission meeting. What is the desire of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 5th meeting.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries.
I'm abstaining since I wasn't here.
Thank you. CLUP 22-02/Z-2206/V-22-10/3973 Webb Bridge Road has been deferred and will not be heard today. MP 22-04/CU-22-03/V-22-14/Sanctum Serene Wellness has been withdrawn by the applicant. Will not be considered today. And the last one deferred is CU-22-05/off-leash/142 South Main Street has been deferred. So the only item to consider tonight is MP-22-05/CU-22-04/SS Entertainment LLC event facility at 5815 Windward Parkway will be considered, and Michael Woodman will present. Michael? And while Michael is coming over, if this item is forwarded to City Council, it will be considered during the Monday, June 20th meeting. City Council makes final decision, Planning Commission recommends. So whatever the decision is here, come back for that meeting. Michael.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. The item before you this evening is SS Entertainment LLC is requesting a master plan amendment and conditional use to operate a special event facility. It's in a 5,794 square foot suite in the Windward Crossing Shopping Center. The application requested a maximum capacity of 408 people. And I do have the location map on the overhead. The property is located at 5815 Windward Parkway. This is Suite 101. It's at the southeast corner of Windward Parkway and North Point Parkway. The Windward Crossing Shopping Center was developed in 2005. It's 2 stories over basement. It's about a little under 50,000 square foot shopping center. There is office approved on the 2nd floor with retail restaurant on the 1st floor. Other businesses within that development are the Rome Innovative Workspace. That's the office space up on the 2nd floor of the building. Knuckle Up Fitness, Little Tokyo Sushi, Nalan Indian Cuisine, and several others. Property is zoned CUP Community Unit Plan, subject to the Windward Master Plan. This is Pod 66 within that master plan. That pod does not list special event facility as a permitted or conditional use. So that's the purpose of the master plan amendment and conditional use before you this evening. This is the site location. They are in the basement level of this shopping center, so approximately in this area here. There is parking underneath this building, as well as usable space, which is represented by this blue box. SS Entertainment is a new business operating a special event facility with event planning services. As I mentioned, this is Suite 101, which is located in that basement level. It does have access from the main level of the shopping center on the front. There is a elevator lobby that would take you down to that space. You can also access that space from the rear of the building through that parking deck, that basement level parking deck. According to the applicant, the facility would accommodate corporate and business conferences, banquets, wedding receptions, and graduation and birthday celebrations. Catering, photography, music, entertainment would all be outsourced, provided by others. Hours of operation would be Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 1 a.m., Saturday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. The applicant anticipates approximately 4 employees at this location. This is the floor plan provided by the applicant. This is the space in question here. And then you can see outside of this space, the elevator comes down in this location here from the main level. And then this is the below grade parking deck, or basement level parking deck, continues here. Within this development, there's approximately 230 parking spaces serving this property. With considering all the uses approved at this development, there's a surplus, not including Suite 101, where the applicant is proposing to go. There would be a surplus of 60 parking spaces to serve Suite 101. Special event facility requires 1 parking space per 4 seats or person's number of occupancy, plus 1 employee parking space for each 10 seats or 10 persons of occupancy. As I mentioned earlier, the application came in with a maximum occupancy of 408 people. That would require a total of 143 parking spaces to support that occupancy. We just crunched some numbers and determined that a maximum occupancy of 225 people would generate a need for approximately 80 parking spaces. In addition to that, the city's parking regulations allow for up to a 25% reduction in parking if you can show that uses will share parking. And we did look at that and did agree that some parking could be shared depending on hours of operation out there. So based on a shared parking reduction, 25% reduction of those 80 parking spaces, that would generate a need for 60 parking spaces, which is the available surplus parking out there. These are some photographs of the parking at the front of the development. And then this shows the access around the backside of the development and then entrance into that below grade basement level parking deck. Of course, when we looked at the parking out here, we looked at all the businesses that are operating within the center. We looked at their hours of operation as compared to the applicant's business and their hours of operation. We did note that many of the businesses are operating during the same times as the special event facility would be operating. And we actually broke it down hourly based on the times proposed by the applicant Monday through Friday, on Saturday, and on Sunday. And basically what we found out is that based on the applicant's initial request for up to 408 people, that the parking needs would be exceeded during the hours of 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturdays. We found that there was as much as a 30 parking space deficit during those times. And so we are recommending that the maximum capacity be reduced based on that, as well as based on the available parking at the center. Of course, we reviewed the applicant's proposal against the criteria for master plan amendment and conditional use. We do believe that the proposal would not have significant impacts on surrounding properties. Did note that there is another special event facility approximately 800 feet away to the east, the Metropolitan Club. That event venue is a little bit different than the applicant's request. They only operate during the weekday. And they're only open till, I believe, 5 p.m. In the afternoon. They're closed on the weekend. So they're a little bit different than the applicant's business. We do believe that the use would also help improve synergy within the shopping center, providing an opportunity for other businesses in the shopping center to provide services to the event venue. But of course, we are recommending approval subject to that maximum capacity being reduced to 225 people. We did show this to the community at the May 11th Community Zoning Information Meeting, and there were no public comments on the item. With that, staff is recommending approval of the applicant's request subject to 6 conditions, and I'll just go through those. Condition 1, special event facility shall be added as a conditional use at 5815 Windward Parkway Suite 101 and limited to no more than 5,794 square feet. 2, conditional use approval shall be limited to SS Entertainment LLC. No additional special event facility use or subleasing shall be permitted within the approved space. 3, special event facility shall be limited to no more than 225 people, with the final maximum occupancy subject to fire marshal approval. 4, events shall be limited to corporate and business conferences, banquets, wedding receptions, and graduation and birthday celebrations. 5, hours of operation shall be limited to Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 1 a.m., Saturday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. And then 6, if a parking problem is identified by the city, SS Entertainment LLC shall be required to correct the problem by reducing the capacity of events, providing an off-site parking agreement for parking within 500 feet of the facility, and/or providing valet services as approved by staff. And that concludes the presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to address those.
Thank you, Mr. Woodman. I have a very quick question, part of which might be answered by the applicant. I noticed that they indicate that they will have, or anticipates, approximately 4 employees. And we are calculating the parking requirement based on one parking space for every 10 seats for employees. So obviously, with a 25% reduction, we're already accommodating for that reduction in terms of employees, because they do have, we're assuming 22 based on the total number of parking spaces required.
Yeah, and I assume the other thing that we'd have to think about as well is that that's the applicant's estimated number of employees for the event space. There could be catering, entertainment, music that would also generate additional folks that would be there. Technically, they're not employees of the event facility, but they would be counted as employees and not necessarily guests.
So the additional 18 would accommodate
Yeah.
that. Okay. I don't have any questions at this time.
So Michael, just the question, kind of tie off that a little bit, kind of in the same vein. Could we limit, just go ahead and put anybody over 150 visitors or part of the parties? You have to have valet services? Because I agree with you. I mean, I just went through a party planning process, and when it's a lot more to it. First of all, Alpharetta needs more of these. But you got caterers showing up, you got music, you have a lot more, like I said, parking needs, I think, than what you're quantifying a little bit there. And the disturbance of other tenants, right, is really kind of our consideration. Is could you put a number on that, or is that hard to administer, or what was your thought process?
And your question is, could you put a number on, like, where it would trigger the need for
So right now, you were
valet?
just saying if you identify a problem, but what if you said, if you have a party of more than 150 people, you have to have a valet service out there? That's what I was asking. I don't know if you can govern that totally, so I'm just asking your thoughts.
Yeah, in the past, the last one that came before Planning Commission was the event facility Reserve 116 on Old Milton Parkway. And that applicant had actually offered to provide valet services as part of her business for events that were over 60 people, I believe. Eventually, that condition was amended, and I don't remember if it was here at Planning Commission or at City Council, but it was very similar. The amendment to that condition was very similar to what you see in Condition 6 here. So I don't know that we thought about that in this particular situation if we needed to make a condition requiring the valet, but we also did feel comfortable by reducing the maximum occupancy that there would be sufficient parking here, and we did feel comfortable with this condition that there would be more alternatives than just valet. They could do possibly off-site parking potentially. Now, I don't know that there's any off-site that they could use here, but we wanted to provide options rather than dictate a valet service to resolve any problems.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Richards?
Well, the only concern I would have is, sorry, Karen.
It's okay.
I drove this property on my way here, and the parking spaces where Knuckle Up was almost 3/4 full at 6. And the parking lot on the main area was not quite half, but I just feel like we're not going to have enough parking. So I like the idea of doing some kind of valet.
We can certainly, of course, this board can certainly add a condition to address valet based on maybe for
Occupancy.
events that are over a
So
certain
many people.
number of folks. And we can certainly ask the applicant about that as
Okay.
well. But that's something that we could look at adding a condition for, if you'd like.
Michael, my question is, the 230 spaces that are noted in Windward Crossing, does that include the out parcels of Black Walnut and the credit union?
It does not.
Okay.
So those are separate. It does not include the out parcels for the credit union or the former Black Walnut Cafe. Is specifically the parking spaces available in the balance of the shopping center as well as underneath the building.
And it includes the parking in the rear of the building as well, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question. So I would concur that I think that there is a market need for event spaces that are, I would characterize as smaller sized events, and for the sake of argument, 250 and less. In a circumstance like this, and only because it's the second one that's come before us, do the normal considerations with regard to kitchen and hood and venting and liquor license and things of that nature fall into a different bucket because it's a special events facility than like at a hotel? Like a hotel has a banquet space, but they would have a liquor license that would be applicable to the building. These are sort of one-off spaces available to rent by anybody. Where does that stuff exist in terms of the operation of these? It may not be a question for our consideration tonight, but it was more just out of curiosity in general.
Yeah, and I think the applicant will be better at answering that question. However, what I would say is the applicant has indicated that all catering is going to be by others, so they'll be bringing that in. So I don't believe that this facility will have like a hood or anything like that. They may have like warming areas to keep the food warm. So that's not going to come into play. For caterers that bring in alcohol, the caterer is the one that gets the alcohol license, that has to maintain the alcohol license.
Right, okay. So just in any other, and I'm trying to think of the right phrase, and I'm going to use the wrong phrase, and I don't mean it to be, but it's almost like a reception B&B space, that it's available for use by whomever comes and rents it, whatever the event is that they want to put in there in this broad section of events, and then they make a determination of whether the people are eating or drinking or listening to music or doing
Yeah, and
whatever.
they bring in those extra
gotcha.
services with
Okay.
it. Yes.
Thank you.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, that these other requirements like licensing are covered separately under the code, which is outside the Planning Commission scope.
Correct.
Correct.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
All that would be reviewed. If there were a kitchen here, for example, that's going to be reviewed with their building permit. They're going to have an interior build out of this space, and that will be reviewed by our building department. Alcohol licensing, of course, is handled by our licensing department.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Well, none at this time, so we're going to ask the applicant to come forward and make a presentation. And please state your name and address for the record.
Or you can sit here, either one.
Any access to the floor plan? Any access to the floor plan?
If you would like to, I'll leave. There you go.
Good evening. My name is Sammy Frazee, and I'm representing the project owner. On behalf of the project owner, I thank you all for being here tonight. I have managed to prepare the design for this proposal for event facility, and wish to present that to you. If it's possible to show the floor plan.
Okay, can we raise the volume a little bit so it can be picked? Well, I'm sure it's being picked up, but can the audience hear clearly?
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to express the fact that the project owners have realized a need for a facility like this in that area. When they proposed, or when they presented to the landlord, and the landlord was kind of was like, oh, is that okay? Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
First of all, again, my name is Sammy Frazee. My address is 2844 Delcourt Drive, Decatur, Georgia, 30033. I'm the architect that prepared the plans for this proposal for an event facility, representing the project owners. And wish to again thank you all for being tonight here, and would like to mention that this project came about first by the project owners thinking about exploring a need, and they having the ability to administer a project like this, and have found an opportunity in that area and a need, and it was a good situation for what they were looking for. And they present to the landlord at Windward Crossing. And the landlord of Windward Crossing was fairly positive about the idea. And when they looked at for the space, as far as the space is concerned, they found out that it kind of lends itself to something like this that could be of benefit to the overall place, as far as the need is concerned, and as well as being able to cater for a space like that. So I was approached to try to help them realize this idea, and explored a few sketches and came up with what you might call a conceptual floor plan rather than calling it a final floor plan. This is basically conceptual in the sense that we're still exploring what the limits are, and as far as capacity, as far as usefulness, and as well as, of course, considering all of the applicable building codes and et cetera. I approached the City of Alpharetta's fire marshal, as well as Mr. Goodwin, Mr. Woodman also, Mr. Seabolt and Mr. Woodman were very helpful, and I'm very appreciative of their efforts and all of the time they invested in supporting me with trying to put together all the paperwork and the design and everything. So, having said this, initially when we came up with the capacity, the occupant load, after drafting the conceptual floor plan, the number came up like that because we ran down, crashed the numbers. There seems to be sometimes the codes, do imply that you have to have certain people per, certain square feet per person, could say, in consideration to the overall floor plan. But it turned out that it's not really, the 408 people is not really what we thought initially. That's what we're proposing. So it's rather more a calculation based on occupant load factors. So, and that's where we have that's where we came up with. But it does affect how you calculate for parking, because if you take for example in the space in the conceptual plan, if you look at the lobby area is a transition space. It's not people are not going to be standing there, let's say, you're shoulder to shoulder and packed in that space. But we did calculate 118 people for that little lobby space. It's just a welcome area to welcome the guests to their seats. So, but the main hall has, according to the sketch, the conceptual plan, can take 192 people. That's based on 24 tables, each having 8 people per table. So that comes up to 192 people, and 4 employees. So we're still, within the bounds of what Mr. Woodman was saying, suggesting 225 people. That's sufficient. I think that's very realistic. That's a lot more realistic occupant load than the one we calculated per the code. As far as the maximum, limit. So that's basically my concern, is that, yes, definitely, on behalf of the project owner, we're open to any reasonable reduction to that initial proposed occupant load. which might scare you as being, we've got to have too much parking, but rather to make it more realizable and reasonable, as far as, how many people can really be served in that space. And the plan is not going to stay like it is right now, as we develop it through, present it to, for permitting. It's going to have to go through some changes and some refinements, et cetera, including that entry area, which might change a little too as well.
My understanding is that you just stated that 225 is reasonable based on what you expect to serve. You said 192.
I think it's based on the floor plan layout as it is right now. In the concept stage, it shows that you can comfortably serve 192 people seated. That means, you're not going to be packing the hall with a lot more people if you can't seat them and have, most people have a seat, So being a banquet hall or for events facility, even in consideration of the fact that there's a dance space and there's a platform area as a stage, I think that I would say I'm assuming that the number that Mr. Woodman has suggested is fairly correct.
Okay. All right. That sounds like it's reasonable. And you understand that, we, in terms of the code, you still have been given 25% reduction in parking requirement, which is very fair and reasonable based on what the assessment of the operations are going to be. And this is the limit of people who can be at this event at one time.
Yes. Also, I might add that upon surveying the businesses that are there, of course there are some vacant suites that are not using their parking spaces, but that's not how we calculate for the maximum, of course, and in the event. So the calculation will be actually considering those spaces being occupied and leased. But in support of the project, I did realize, when I'm photographing the place and visiting it a few times, I realized that it was fairly dormant. It's not.
If you can move your microphone closer to your mouth,
Sorry.
that would be a little bit.
Your mouth.
My ear is struggling.
Yeah, I was saying, according to my observation, is that there's not a whole lot of activity going on there, which kind of prompts you to say that in support of the project, that actually there's room for there seems to be room for a facility like this, considering that a few suites right now are actually vacant, and but even with it being full house there, I think that there should be, looking at the hours of operation, all of that, hopefully that this should be well taken care of.
Thank you. Any questions from board members?
Yeah, I'd like to, is the operator here? Is he in the audience?
Sorry?
Is the operator in the audience tonight?
The project owner?
Yes.
I believe so.
Is it okay if they step up? And I think
Sure.
we'd all love to hear about your business a little
Yes.
bit and, how you operate
Absolutely.
and all those things. I understand the design, the floor, but we really can't get into that. I think we're more interested in how you're going to operate and all this for capacity and those kind of things. So we'd love to hear a lot more from the operators, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So my name is Shiva, and this is Satish. So we are the ones who are going to be operating this business. The main purpose is to, of course, provide an event facility for all the clients. There's a big market for that, so we wanted to give that opportunity to ourselves and also the community to serve it. So we are as I said, there is no kitchen. I mean, if that is when I was hearing that, so there's no kitchen, we have the provision to serve the food, and there will be a bar for the drinks and stuff, but it will be all outsourced. We are not going to have anything in there. So all the outside vendors will come in and they do their job as per the client's requirement, and then that's about it. So it's going to be a facility, and yeah, there is a parking situation. I don't know I mean, you guys can decide on the number of people which can be in the facility at the time at once. But the hours, usually the weekdays, we have put it out there, but technically any birthday parties or graduation parties or any kind of celebrations are usually on the weekends. So that would be where we will be, very careful with the amount of people we are going to accommodate and whatnot. So we will be certainly inside the perimeter of the guidelines given to us.
Thank you. I got just a couple of questions on that, if you don't mind. I'm really just concerned really about disruption of your tenants that are around you, right? Because they rent, they're there, they have their businesses, and just the parking situation being one for valet services. And then the design that you have here, I guess the restrooms are external. You kind of come outside and you kind of walk there. How would you manage that flow of people coming outside, getting loud, we all want to celebrate, but sometimes we enjoy too much that. And then how do you shut it off at night? I've always seen these parties, you got to stop an hour before, everyone wants to stay later. So if you don't mind, just those which really influence your tenants or now your neighbors, how do you stop or mitigate those kind of disturbances?
The restrooms being outside it's kind of pretty close to the main entrance, so it'll be easier. We didn't want it to be inside the facility because it's not working out in a way. It gives a presentable ambience, so that's why we had to plan in such a way that we keep the restrooms outside. It is quite we have enough space for the entrance and for the restrooms. So the restrooms are on the side, and the entrance has got a pretty decent amount of space. And the parking is a covered parking right across the main door. It's a covered deck. So, and then there are parking outside. So there's enough room for you to drop somebody off and then make a U-turn and just come out of the. If you don't have enough spaces in the parking deck, you can just drive out and park in the building. So if that answers the question. And then second, to answer the second question, so we have, we've been doing this for a while, so we know how it gets crazy. So we will be giving our clients a heads up 12 o'clock midnight that it's going to be a last call or for whatever, and we will be shutting it down no matter what. So they have to leave the premises within the specified amount of time. So if needed, we will have security as well. Thanks. Yeah.
So a couple of questions. The restrooms was one I couldn't understand why they were outside, so I get that that's part of your design. The other concern I have is with all the vendors that are going to be providing the services. So with that covered deck, a truck, a box truck, or where's that delivery going to be? Because I have a concern of blocking that road if they're doing the deliveries from this exterior door facing the parking lot on the outside. So how do you envision that? Because that is a concern I have. You have catering, bar, table, chair set up, and all that stuff being delivered. Where's the delivery trucks going to go?
Once you drop the food or whatever the vendor, whatever they're providing, they will, because they're the ones to come first before anybody, before the guests come in. So we have, once they drop off, once we set up everything up, they can park in the covered deck. And the guests, as they come in, whatever their parking is left, they will park there, mainly the hosts first. And then the guests who are attending the event can park outside and the remaining parking spaces. So that because we have to set the party up before the host shows up. So it's not like we will be doing it with them or in front of them. So we'll be prepared before anybody would come.
So you're saying you're going to do all the deliveries from the rear of the building? Is that what you're saying? Where
Yes.
Knuckle Up is? Back behind the building? Okay, right. So not to interfere with all the businesses up at the top?
No, absolutely.
Okay,
there's enough room to come out from outside, and from the walk-in floor, you have to take an elevator to come down.
Right.
So guests might come that way, but not the vendors.
Okay.
You mentioned that you've been doing this for a while. How long have you been in this business?
Close to a decade.
Where else do you have such a facility?
We have it in Cumming. It's more like a multi-purpose facility. I also have a dance studio there. So we use that once in a while for kids' birthday parties. And I also am an event planner outside. So I plan events all day, every year. So.
Thank you. Any further questions? Sure.
Did you get your question?
I'm done.
Okay. So I do have a question. Are there any, is there any type of event that would fall outside of the kind of event that you would anticipate this facility being used for?
No, sir. I don't think so. Like there's this, whatever we have mentioned is what it is.
Okay, and the reason I ask that question is because both in the application and then in one of the following conditions, it is a somewhat constrained with language that is shall be limited to corporate business conferences, banquets, wedding receptions, graduation, and birthday separations. So I just wanted to ensure that there wasn't, reading that in a constrained way, you weren't leaving some group of events that you would know that you would anticipate having that would somehow inadvertently be left off this list of things that you anticipated.
No, I think I understand the question, but no, not really. We are not, this is the main purpose of the event hall, so not anything outside that.
Okay.
And here my partner is, he owns a restaurant, so we have experience in the food business and also the event planning business, so.
He's going to be doing the catering.
Well, it's a
Probably.
we'll be in a win-win situation.
Thank you. All right. If there are no further questions, you can take a seat and we'll open this up for public comments. Is there anything else you are going to add? Are you finished with your presentation? Oh. All right. You have some time for rebuttal after public comment, and you can respond to any questions that come up, or the board can ask you any questions during the discussions. I'm opening this for public comments. Anyone in favor of this application, please come forward. Seeing none, anyone in opposition, please come forward. None in favor, none in opposition. I close the public comment. Anything else you'd like to add before I turn this over to the board for consideration? All right. Well, I turn this over to the board for discussion and or motion.
I had one quick, because of your question, I was thinking, do we need to add a condition that, about the deliveries? I mean, I'm just a little worried. I mean, I don't want to disrupt the business in the front of the building by delivery trucks and.
I wasn't worried about the front of the building. I was worried about that road that those parking spots on the downward side
Right.
are accessing, that if you get 3 trucks in a line, none of those parking spots would be able to, you couldn't turn into them. So,
Okay.
But I think that is, he's going to want to be a good neighbor. And if that's something that, I think would fall into that, if parking is identified as a problem category on condition 6, it could be flagged to the city to deal with.
But it's not parking, it's deliveries.
Truck parking.
I'm just asking.
On the curb, and I think when I saw it, I thought it was painted red because it's the fire. So that would fall under parking.
And I would just like to add, there's a lot of deliveries happening there right now with the current occupants of the various office suites and restaurants. So there's deliveries happening to support them, and I don't think there's any issues.
Restriction on that, okay.
No, I don't think it's going to put any tension on that.
Okay.
I think there's
Just
a
a
fair amount of
question.
that now.
Yeah, I would hesitate to put restrictions regarding deliveries in terms of operations of that for that very reason that Commissioner Richards mentioned. Unless there is a disruption that's identified, a complaint is filed with the city, and it can be addressed as a violation of the code. But I would ask whether Michael and staff had made any consideration of that, and you have any wisdom to share with the board regarding deliveries and potential disruptions.
We didn't address deliveries in the conditions. Certainly, if the board feels that we need to add a condition, we can certainly do that. The applicant is here with a representative of the property. If you would like to hear from him, he may have some additional information with respect to how deliveries are handled at the center. Well, but we could certainly add a condition if you have any concerns with it.
And we would welcome that, but while you are at the table, how would you handle potential disruption if one occurs and there is a complaint by one of the tenants?
Because of deliveries?
Correct.
Obstructing
Blockage of
a
that
tenant.
road, how would that be handled? Is there a code provision that you would be able to impose and correct that potential?
Yeah, so our site plan requirements do require that loading spaces be identified within a development. I don't know right offhand where the loading is designated to occur within this particular center. But if there were issues with deliveries obstructing other tenants in this center, it's certainly something that we could have code, since it's a requirement on the site that they designate that area, we could have code enforcement look at that.
This is a question for the applicant. I did hear you say that deliveries like the ones that have been mentioned would have to occur from the back of the building, not from the front. Would you be opposed to such accommodation in the application? Would that be a restriction to the operations of the business?
So first of all, these trucks we're talking about are not large 26 containers. They're tiny trucks will come and deliver, and especially the downstairs where we're at, the neighbor to us is I think it's a karate studio, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it is. So their hours of operation, I mean, if that is how the trucks would come in, because there is a clear path for the trucks to come in the back and then deliver and then have enough sufficient space to turn and then park. So at that time, especially the hours of operation, based on the hours of operation, we will not have, because I've looked at every single facility in that building, that they be very well closed at that time. Their operation hours are different from, especially the neighbor. So if there is any, but we will definitely make sure that we may mitigate that in a way that, if the trucks come in early or deliver and go. And most of the time, it's just the food. It's not much is coming from outside, because the tables, the chairs, the stage is already set in the hall, predetermined and preset. It's just the main part is the food. So, and as far as the other stuff is concerned, I mean, I don't see any other big items coming into the hall other than the food mainly. And if the food can come in a little early, more than an hour, so that way it's not disrupting anyone, we can always have warmers and have them warm for the guests. So that would be my answer to that.
Thank you. And I think Michael offered the owner of the property for additional intelligence regarding this. And this line of inquiry is, of course, the board exercising due diligence in really satisfying itself that this is all factors are considered. So if we can gain a little more insight from the property owner, I assume he's the one standing, that would be helpful.
Good evening. I'm Michael Gusky. I live at 111 Little Ridge Road in Berkeley Lake, Georgia. I'm the property manager at this location, and I've been there 3 years now doing this, and we do deal with conflicts, all the time, and for the most part, we are able to resolve them amongst tenants. I haven't had too many instances where it really goes past that. We are able to problem solve pretty well. I am very familiar with this property because it is so close to our office. The downstairs area really can accommodate a lot of box trucks, anybody coming in doing deliveries. I think they're spot on when it does say like that's a perfect place for employees to come in, for deliveries to come in, really anything like that. It's a perfect zone for them to really handle anything pre-event.
Okay. I think I'll borrow a statement Commissioner Zirinskas mentioned about being a good corporate neighbor, and I think I'm satisfied that that matter will be handled. It's really determining that there is a plan and two, there are remedies in case a potential problem that is unforeseen occurs, that there are remedies to it, and I think I am comfortable with what has been presented. I only speak for myself, not the rest of the board. Any questions for the
So we
manager?
probably have alcohol being dropped off, then you have the food getting dropped off, the florist kind of dropped off, which is all kind of standard stuff. I guarantee if you really get into the property, that Amazon truck that comes by every day, stopping in the middle, probably does more frustration than anybody than really probably what you guys will kind of experience. But thank you for supporting it and governing that.
Absolutely, and for the longest time, we've had, hopes that this would actually be an event hall. We thought it was always set up perfectly for such a thing.
Okay.
So we're excited for them. I think it would really work out well at our location.
I think the word I saw in the application or the staff report is synergies. Yeah, and that says a lot. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve MP-22-05/CU-22-04 SS Entertainment LLC event facility at 5815 Windward Parkway, with all the conditions stated by staff.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Any further discussion? The only thing I would actually add to this is that I agree with, I think there was a mention that yes, we do need these types of facilities in Alpharetta. There is a shortage of them. I think this particular location is a good location because of access to it and proximity to Windward Parkway, North Point Parkway, Georgia 400. And third is, it seems like it's not as vibrant as it could be. I've been there. I go Windward Parkway almost every day. So I think this is going to bring synergies to the businesses around, and we wish you the best and success in your business. And you chose the right city to do this business. So with that, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. It's going to go before City Council on June the 20th. The recommendation is for approval. Council makes the final decisions. Any other matter that the board would like to consider before the meeting is adjourned?
Can we just get clarification from Michael? What did the agenda for next week get all the things from today or the deferred items from today? I'm sorry, I might have missed that.
You didn't.
I'm a little concerned.
Okay.
So the agenda for next week is, there are 4 items on that. None of the items that deferred from tonight will be considered next Thursday. Those will go to a future planning commission either in July or August.
So we'll get another report for the Thursday meeting.
Alex is going to send you another email tomorrow once we get everything uploaded to the agenda packets, and there will be 4 items scheduled current. As of right now, there are 4 items scheduled for next Thursday.
And the meeting is 6:30.
Yes, correct.
All right. Any other matter? Commissioner Zirinskas? The meeting is adjourned.